born in 36. This, up there in
36?
Michigan. This had to be in Michigan.
He had him with two daughters named Mary. One just younger than Billy. And
The little one wasn't, the new one, Mom got, some way they had a letter from her, somehow.
Yeah.
And that she wasn't named Mary as far as I knew, unless it was a middle name or something. I think it
Well.
was something like Juanita or something like that. And they lived down and around Dexter, out from Dexter there in the rural area somewhere. And her name was Wright. Enid Wright. But he never did go to, he sent her home and he never did go to her as far as we ever knew.
well, and then
What was her first name?
Enid, E-N-I-D. E-N-I-D.
E-N-I-D. Okay. All right, I'll look that up and see if I can.
But that was before I started to school, so
Yeah.
that was many long years ago.
Virginia, he also
Well,
asked me, did Grandma and Grandpa take Billy and Mary with them when they first went to Albuquerque, or did they get them later?
They took them with them.
Did they?
Granddad went ahead to get a job in a house. They all came to our house and stayed 4 months. And he sent them money for a train fare to come out there. And we lived in a little house. Dad had the worst house we ever lived in because he wanted to farm and he wanted to rent that land. And there was a house that was 2 rooms wide and 2 rooms up. There a house. Had big windows.
Called a shotgun house.
And it was old house. But they had cherry trees and dewberry farm and asparagus beds, just everything, and rose bushes, everything except a good house. But they sent them down here, and Aunt Nell brought them out to our house to stay. And we just had 2 rooms upstairs and 2 rooms downstairs. So they had to get out and get beds, straw beds or something to fix for the boys to sleep upstairs. I guess they put Grandma in the front room with them, not in their bed, but in their room. And us kids slept on pallets.
Do you remember
They
seeing?
stayed 4 months.
Do you remember seeing Cleo?
Oh, yes.
I told him, I don't remember Grandma, but just, I remember seeing her stand when it was telling her bye. And she was tall and had brownish hair. I said it might have been
Am I
gray.
sitting on something?
No, I just turned that around. So.
But she had brownish hair on
She had black hair.
well, black.
It's parted in the middle and dipped the little rings down like that, and then went back up there and tied great big up here. And she chewed tobacco, and I wouldn't kiss her. I kissed my other grandma, but I wouldn't kiss her. And see, when we lived in Michigan, we lived upstairs, and there was a porch out here, and downstairs there was a porch out there too. So we were down there on that lower porch with our doll beds and playing inside that porch. She'd come out up there and spit, and it came into our doll dishes. Oh, Grandma never got no kisses from me.
What's
Did you turn that thing off?
No, I didn't turn it off. I got that right on there.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, anyway, you made me lose my my train of thought there. I was going to ask you something else there, but
About for Cleo, was it?
no, it was
Mary and Billy was with them. She brought
Ohio.
them down with when they come down from Michigan.
Yeah.
Brought Mary and Billy and Cleo and Boyd. And 5 of them came to our house to stay. We just had a little bitty house. We had pallets all over the place. And it was wintertime. And they stayed till June.
Yeah.
And Grandpa finally sent the money for them to come out there. But they had made, Ben had made Grandpa and Grandma promise they'd never let pigs have the grandkids. So pigs...
Why, they didn't like him? Or?
No, they didn't like him. I don't know how come, but they didn't. So, this Mr. and Mrs. Pig come to our house there, and then after a year or two when we lived in another place, they come to our house trying to get the address of where those kids might be. And Pop was sworn to secrecy. Grandma and Grandpa and them, they'd promised Ben they'd never let them little kids go to there. And well, Grandma had tuberculosis, and usually the law would have taken kids away in a case like that.
Yeah.
But somehow or another, after Grandma was died, he put Billy in a boy's place and Mary in a girl's home, but they weren't in the same town. You're not recording all this, are you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know whether it's accurate. I'm telling you how I remember.
Well, that's all you can say. You can only say what you know, right?
You're not going to play this for anyone else to hear.
No, this is just...
For him.
Well, anyway, the pigs found them. And they sent railroad tickets. And those two little kids traveled by themselves. He got on first, and then they come to this certain town, and she got on.
Wow.
And they traveled all the way to Dexter, from way out west.
To Dexter.
And they was about 6 and 8 years old.
Boy, that's something, huh?
And after then Mr. Pig died after a while, and the grandma was a step-grandma, and she didn't seem to want to keep the kids. So Mary was living with a family of friends over there someplace, and Bill came over to our house. He stayed at our house a little while, and he'd talk about getting on the railroad, thumbing his rides and things like that, sleeping in a flop house and things like that. Poor boy, just 18 and out on his own with no place to get money or anything else. It was just bad. But he come to our house, and we didn't have extra room for a boy. But I don't think my dad run him off. I don't think so.
No.
But I know Mom had to sleep with us kids and let him sleep in the bedroom with where Pop was. And later we all got the lice. We all got lice. And Pop had to burn all the mattresses and buy new mattresses and everything, and he thought that they got them from Bill.
It could have been.
Found out later, everybody on the job got them. They had torn down a house and built a new house there on the edge of town for some people, and it was in the lumber they tore down. And so he always felt bad that he had thought it was Billy when it really wasn't. I don't know if he said anything to Billy about it or not. Probably run him off, didn't let him stay.
Yeah.
But Bill come to see us on Christmas Day one time, and he was married and had 2 little girls.
Yeah.
Well, now, Regina, you didn't tell me about Bill and Mary come back, wasn't it, on Christmas? And to see it, he drove a car and brought Mary over to see us.
No, I never saw Mary.
You must have been gone then, because it was after he had been there and after he got a job and everything. I don't know how long. But him and Mary come to our house for one day. That's the only time I ever saw Mary in my life.
Well, I never saw Mary. Bill come, brought his wife. He come when he was by himself and would stay and play the guitar, and we'd sing and have a kind of a good time. He'd go to church with us, but I never saw his wife.
Well, in the census there in 1920, they got married, or Benjamin and, got married in 1919. And in 1920, it shows them living with you guys that year.
They was probably living with Mom and Pop down on, when I was a new baby, they lived downtown on Lexington. And that's where they lived when Pop come home from where Mom had gotten a house before he come home. She knew he was coming, rented a house. And it had porch posts because he said as he came past that, I'll have to back up. Everybody was going to the station to meet him all the time. Every day they thought he's coming home. But Grandma was crippled and she didn't get to go. So Mom would go into town, and Nell worked downtown, and Ben worked downtown, and they'd all go, and Grandpa would go to town. They'd all go meet every train that come in to see if Lee was on it. So he didn't know that. So as he's coming into Poplar Bluff, they slowed real slow as he's coming along a place there, and he just stepped off the train. went across the fields over to where he knew his mom and dad lived, and his mama was there. She's the first one got to see him. And so he said that him and Mom was sitting there talking, and here come, well, it was, I don't know what you saw first, Mom or them, but Ben and Nell was in a truck. And they was coming along, coming up a hill, and Mom was walking and running and crying.
Right.
And they was trying to outrun her. He said that I saw that I just got up and I walked down that hill and I walked right past that truck, went on down to where Elvie was, and I picked her up and carried her back up there. Oh, he told us me about that whenever he was old.
Yeah.
He said,
He said he ran down that hill. He didn't walk. He ran down that hill.
You mentioned living on Lexington.
yeah, I think that was the name of it.
Yeah, you don't remember the house or anything?
No, I don't. I remember. It was a house with a porch and it had some big posts. And he said it had red, white, and blue bunting wrapped around the posts, you know. When he passed it, he thought, well, somebody's looking for the folks home today. And he got on over to where he knew his parents lived, and they was wrapped the same way. And he thought, oh, I bet that was Elvie's house. She just got it that year, that week or week before, you know, and got it fixed like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I was born over there in Lexington. But the house,
yeah?
But the house burned down. I never did see it.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I used to live in Lexington. The reason I asked, I thought it might have been the same house or something, but if it
Well, I
burned
lived
down,
on
it wasn't.
Lexington was before I can remember.
Yeah. I see Ted and Mom there.
See what?
Looks like,
Yeah,
what is
that's
that, Mary?
Ted.
That's Nancy there.
Ted and Nancy.
Yeah.
Is this them down here too?
Yeah, let's see.
This up here is Ted.
Yeah. I see Mom back here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he drove and drove and drove and drove, I think, off of a trucking job or something.
Yeah.
And he got there and she said, I just can't go. He said, you're going. I'll come after you. You're going. That's what she told us about it. He didn't say nothing about it.
Let me,
And then they all, if you got a picture of breakfast, we had them all out at our house for breakfast before everybody left the next
oh, right here.
Yeah,
And here.
yeah. See, that's my picture there on the same one.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
On the wall now.
This is Catherine, isn't it?
I think so.
I mean, I can't see clearly, but I think it's Catherine.
And we had breakfast. That was at the dining table, and then we had a 32-foot porch. We had 2 tables out of the porch. Everybody was out there for breakfast next morning.
I want to tell you that Catherine and Norman have been gracious to me all through the years. And there's not been a year except this one, but they haven't come to see me. So I know that their health, one or the other of them, is failing. They've traveled to down under, you know, Australia, and they've traveled to England and a lot of places.
That's our home. That's me and Burton. That's where we had them all out for breakfast out at Pocahontas, Missouri. This was a 32-foot screen porch where I had tables set up where a lot of people could eat.
We had a family reunion before this one, about 5 years earlier, but it wasn't grand as this one. It was just out at our house under the trees in the summertime, you know, and we had tables setting up out under the trees. And I made a quilt out of some old scraps.
Now there's a picture of Bill Burton.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got that. That was in the cookbook. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Gina was going to give you her cookbook.
I lost it. I got it out yesterday and this morning and I can't find it.
Well, first time you find it.
And the book I had for you of that church, for her, of her church.
I've got a picture of it.
You have.
But
I just dug everything out, and then last night I was so tired, and then I can't find that